recognized symbol of excellence for your entertainment.
We could blow this place apart if we wanted to.
Welcome to Machino Music, the show that puts the music in Machino music, with your host, me, Brett Strong. Today on Machino Music, it's part 2 of my 20 favorite punk albums. This is the top 10, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My 20 favorite punk albums. This is the top 10. Yeah, here we go. Again, even though there's no rules in punk rock, we have some rules. We have some conditions for this. One album per band. I tried not to have too much overrun from my favorite new wave albums, since punk and new wave can kind of, sort of overlap, can be one and the same. At least that's the rules I'm going with. Also, like, these are my favorite albums. You don't hear your favorite album, or you're going to say, oh, that band's not punk, you're a poser, you're a poo-poo head, can't believe you choose this. Like, that doesn't matter. It's just whatever. These are my favorites. Albums that move me. Also, I'm not really a huge fan of the sort of late 90s, like early 2000s punk. Although you might be surprised by some of these choices, or some maybe, not to be a Stanley spoiler, but you might get a little bit of that. But, if you're all, Green Day, Offspring, where's Rancid, where's all these, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, don't hate those bands, but don't love them. Okay, so, like, looking for that stuff. These are not ranked in any particular way. Did I say that? I can't remember. But anyway, not ranked in any particular way. It's just like, these are just give me an excuse to talk about them, really. So before we get into this, let's do a recap of 20 through 11. Alright, there you go, 20 through 11. Now let's get into the 10. Again, they're not ranked in a particular way. But here we go, I'm going Sex Pistols, Nevermind the Bollocks. And yes, I know this is not an original. This is like a compilation of like the original recordings. It's basically the whole thing. I just want, the thing is, you can't find a lot of these albums on vinyl without paying like insane amount of money, or like, on CD. I mean, so hard to find. But I got this. I picked this up. This is my Sex Pistols, because I cannot find, and I don't want to pay some ridiculous amount for it. But I got this. I saw it at my local record store. What the hell? I'll pick this up. So I have some Sex Pistols. This is pretty much the Nevermind the Bollocks album. They were a one and done band. People know who the Sex Pistols are. They talk like they're like the quintessential punk band. They only had one record, Nevermind the Bollocks. And they were actually, the other thing people forget sort of about the Sex Pistols, they were a manufactured band. They were kind of like so anti-punk, really, when you think about it. They were like the Backstreet Boys. They were like NSYNC. Malcolm McLaren saw what was going on in New York, came back to London and said, "Oi, we gotta start it, yeah." And then he brought the Sex Pistols together. So they're a manufactured band. Ramones came together organically. A lot of bands, they came together organically. Sex Pistols are actually kind of phony. So really, kind of the quintessential sort of punk band when you look at them. I mean, they kind of have that look, kind of be defining a punk. The spiky hair, the mohawks, the whole thing. Sid Vicious is messed up, the sloppiness sort of the playing, but it's all about energy. All comes back to the Sex Pistols, when really they were kind of just playing characters. They were actors. But John Lydon, Johnny Rotten himself, appeared on The Masked Singer. Can you imagine this guy who was in the Sex Pistols, like this crazy guy sitting around watching The Masked Singer? Hilarious that happened. But yeah, the energy of this band and this album, I mean, Pretty Vacant, God Save the Queen, Bodies, dig that tune, No Feelings, yeah, so many great tunes that really, this was the band. When you like sort of look at punk bands, and so who usually comes up. So yeah, I had to have Sex Pistols somewhere, even though I know that's not the original. That's all I can find. Give me a break. All right, next. You may argue with this one, but I'm including it. What the hell? Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll. I had to have Joan Jett. I'm a big Joan Jett fan. She's considered the godmother of punk. Now, could I put a Runaways album? Yeah, but I prefer Joan Jett solo. And I think if you're going to go with kind of a, I mean, this had the big hit on it, of course, I Love Rock and Roll, but this has my favorite Joan Jett song, I'm Gonna Run Away, which I think is pretty punk sounding, dig it. I also really like, she does a pretty cool punk cover of Nag by the Coasters. Yeah, she did a cover of the Coasters. A lot of covers on here. There's also a cover of Louie Louie. Also a cover of Bits and Pieces by the Dave Clark 5. But the punk moments on this, what I love, she does this really cool version of the Little Drummer Boy, which I was never, like, how punk is that? I'm going to put the Little Drummer Boy on the album, and it's like, do this cover, this sort of random cover of the Little Drummer Boy. But what's so punk about this? She did Crimson and Clover. Was it Tommy James and the Shondells? Didn't change the gender of the song. Wow. That just scared people. What is this? A lot of lesbians had their awakening hearing that song. Wow. Queer anthem, if there ever was one, and Joan Jett is an LGBTQ icon, queer icon, just dig her. But yeah, I wanted to include this one because, Joan Jett is godmother of punk. And what better way than to transition into the godfather of punk, the Stooges' self-titled debut album, Iggy Pop and the Stooges. Iggy Pop is the godfather of punk. This really kicked it off. This is 1969. And the first song is called 1969. But I Want to Be Your Dog. That's like the first real punk song. When you really get down to it, I mean, some people say, You Really Got Me by the Kinks was the first punk song. Some people say that's the first heavy metal song. But you want to go true, just the first ever true, what is this? This doesn't sound like anything else. This is something we're going to call punk. It's I Want to Be Your Dog.
And now I wanna be your dog.
Wow. What an impact that song makes when you first hear it. We All Fall, great. At 10 minutes and 15 seconds. They're just kind of proggy here. Real Cool Time, great. Yeah. Not Right. Yeah. Great debut. And they kind of look at punk band, kind of also they can be just sort of a heavy metal band or just a rock band, 60s rock band. Generally, the dude wearing the sunglasses there, the shades look like they could be the Doors maybe. But no, this is, you don't know what to make of this. You hear the record, it's like, wow, this is so raw, so different. Had to have this totally groundbreaking. Love the Stooges debut. All right, next, gotta have Television Marquee Moon. Now, this one I had on my favorite new wave albums. And I debated putting this on here. But, because I do think of this more kind of as a new wave album than punk. But, you know, I picked up a copy of it, so maybe that, you know, I wanted to show that I have a copy of this album now. But I wanted to include it, mainly because, like, this band was the first band to appear at the legendary CBGB Club. And made such an impact. Nobody really knew what to make of this. See No Evil, great tune. Venus, Friction. Got a couple very kind of prog elements on here. Marquee Moon, the title track, is like 10 minutes long. Yeah. Just a great album. Just a great debut. I mean, this is like kind of like the start of, like, the very beginning of punk. Nobody kind of knew what it was. And this is really the first band that just was the impact that this band made. And I think I just wanted to show that I have a copy of this album. So there, I'm putting it on there. Television, Marquee Moon. Thought I'd have a Blondie album. And I decided to go with, because they're one of my all-time favorite bands. I never get tired of talking about Blondie. And I want to put this one, the debut. This is the most punk. I was going to have Plastic Letters, which is my favorite Blondie album, which is all my favorite new wave albums, because I think Blondie kind of more new wave band again. But, I mean, they got to be in the conversation as far as like an early punk band. And if you're going to, this is probably their most punk album. I mean, Ex-Offender, total punk tune. Kung Fu Girls, Rip Her to Shreds. Aggressive Debbie, nobody sounded like that. Dig it. Attack of the Giant Ants. They never sounded like this on any of their other albums. That was a big spit I just did right there. Is the energy of this. I mean, and it's just like, and I always point this out when I talk about this record, the most successful band of the punk new wave movement. A little sticker says there. But yeah. Nobody knew what to make of this. This was like totally new, totally cool. Another one of the CBGB bands. Yeah. Dig this. Had to have a Blondie record. Didn't want to repeat from new wave, so I went with the debut. Definitely on, you know, by parallel lines, Blondie were kind of a new wave band. But I think this is like, this and Plastic Letters, you could say, were like they were the most punk on those two records. So I had to have one of them, and I decided to go with the first Blondie record. So there you go. Next up, this is a fun one, actually. Why not? Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Blow in the Wind. Me First and Gimme Gimmes are a super group made up of guys from different bands, like No Effects, Fat Mike of No Effects, Spike Slauson of the Swingin' Utters. Got members from Lagwagon, Joey Cape, you know. Dave Ron originally on drums. They always ripped him apart. That was always kind of the joke of this band. They're a really fun band. They just do different cover versions of like classic pop songs. Each album has a different theme. I always like this one. It has some of my favorite ones. I mean, Who Put the Bump is just so much fun. It just puts you in a good mood. I like the original Barry Mann version. I mean, it's a silly song, but Me First and Gimme Gimme just turn it into just like speed it up like insane. It's like not even 2 minutes. It's just crazy, and it's just like insane energy on it. They do Wild World by Cat Stevens. They Sloop John B by the Beach Boys. Do My Boyfriend's Back. Don't change the gender. Don't even care. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? Yeah. Just some really fun tunes they do on here. Really funny. Yeah. Just dig this record. And Me First Gimme Gimme is a really cool band. Again, cover band, super group. And now they're even more super. They have CJ Ramone playing bass with them. How cool is that? So yeah, just, you know, had to include this one, I think. It's just a fun record. Put you in a good mood. All right, next I'm going to go the Dolly Rots, Because I'm Awesome. Now this is a newer band. I said at the beginning I'm not really a big fan of like the 90s, early 2000s. This is 2007. I don't know, I dig this record. I dig the Dolly Rots. They're kind of like a pop punk band that I really got into. One of the last pop punk bands I really got into. Female singer, maybe that has something to do with it. I'm a big fan of Blondie. The lovely Kelly Ogden. Also got Louis Cabezas. They're husband and wife, Kelly Ogden and Louis Cabezas. Yeah. Great band. A lot of fun. They have a great sense of humor. Really, I think this album, not a sinker in the bowl. I mean, every song in this is great. My favorite song on the record, my favorite Jolly Rod song is Watch Me Go, Kissed Me, Killed Me. Dig that tune. This Crush is great. Yeah. Do a cover of Brand New Key by Melanie. I mean, that punk rock tradition of kind of a weird cover tune. Yeah. Joan Jett signed this is on Blackheart Records. So this is Joan Jett's record label. Doesn't get any more punk than that. Yeah, Joan Jett signed this band. Had to have Dolly Rots because I'm awesome. Had to have a Ramones record, so I decided to go with Road to Ruin. At the last minute I almost put Rocket to Russia, because Rocket to Russia is great. Riff Randall will tell you that's the Ramones' best album.
That's the Ramones' best album.
But I'm going back to Road to Ruin. I did my 70s Ramones album ranking, which is the hardest album ranking I think I'm ever going to do still to this day. I don't think that was really hard to do because, it's only like the 4 records. And they're all really good. But I still go with this one. Because really not a sinker in the bowl on this album. Don't want to skip any tunes. It has has a hit on it. I Want to Be Sedated, the song I don't really ever get tired of.
I wanna be sedated.
Just really cool. Actually has a ballad, Questioningly. Can't beat the Ramones. And they really, that's the band that started the look. Look at that. And they're cartoon characters. I love that the Ramones are they're cartoon characters. They're on this album cover, and then the first time I saw the Ramones, I was like, wow. These guys are like cartoons. I love the whole thing. I dig it. So yeah, had that Ramones record, I decided to go again with Road to Ruin. I moved the stat. It's probably okay. Alright, we're in the top 2, everybody. Not that these are ranked, but you gotta hype it up. You gotta make it seem like it matters. And it's gotta be the only band that matters. The Clash, Give 'Em Enough Rope. Now, I swapped this out. I was going to put London Calling, which I would say is my favorite Clash album, but it's probably a bit too obvious. But I recently picked up a copy of this album. Recently, I was actually able to find a good, decent price on this one. And I also recently picked up a vinyl copy, again, fairly decent. Got a good deal on that of a Combat Rock. I almost put that too, but Give 'Em Enough Rope. I listened to this one again. Wow. The Clash are one of those bands, the only band that matters. I also heard Scott Ian of Anthrax refer to them as like the CNN of music. Not just of punk, but the CNN of just like all music. Because you're getting your news. They were taking like stuff that was really going on. And just like making songs about these like news stories. English Civil War, Tommy Gun. Julie's been working for the drug squad. Last Gang in Town. Guns on the Roof. Drug Stabbing Time. I mean, wow. The tunes on this. And really, that you can take, even now, you can find a Clash song that fits anything that's going on, any point in history, and it still hold up. There are things that are happening now you could find a Clash song for, and it'll totally fit the situation. They're just that band. They're such an important band, and you had to have a Clash record. Great. Love it. Dig it. Clash, Give 'Em Enough Rope. But, last but not least, Be Your Own Pet, Get Awkward. If these were ranked, this would probably still be at the top for me, because talk about a life-changing album. Again, female singer. Me and these punk bands with female singers. Big Blondie fan. I love these punk bands with a female singer. I think it's just the energy of it. And this album, it was the summer of 2008. Again, it's like these early 2000s. I think when punk started, like, you look those late 90s, early 2000s, think around like the kind of like, we got like 2007, 8, like, stuff started to kind of figure out. So these kind of bands started emerging where they kind of got these different vibes. It wasn't like totally like pop. They started getting more of the edge back to it. And this band totally has like a total edge. I just dig this band. And this album, talk about life. I was working at a Bible camp that summer when this came out. Yeah, teaching kids at Bible camp. I'm listening to this, completely insane, but. The Kelly Affair. Valley of the Dolls type song. That was a big spit I just did right there. And the references on this. Got a song called What's Your Damage, which is a reference to Heathers, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. Very punk rock movie. Dig that. Also got a song called Bitches Leave, which is a reference to RoboCop. The scene where Clarence Boddicker walks into Miguel Ferrer's character's house there. He's got the two prostitutes with him, and he says,
Bitches leave.
yeah, I mean, who's doing references like that? Just love the sense of humor on this. Love everything. Yeah, just total life-changing album. It's reflective. It's like a mirror. I can look at myself in the mirror of the CD. And you can see that. Look, crew or equipment visible. Can see my setup. But yeah, such a great album. Edgar Wright is a huge fan of this band. When he was making Scott Pilgrim versus the World, he was listening to this record and really tried to get them on the soundtrack. I think it was something like, I don't know, something like that. Very unfortunate, actually, that the lead singer Gemina Pearl was trying to push to be kind of a Britney Spears and like a pop star. They kind of wanted to and that's kind of what led to the breakup of the band. They recently just got back together, put an album called Mommy, which is fantastic. Dig it. So I'm happy that they're back together and that they're putting out new music, and because they only had the 2 records, they could have almost been like so many punk bands, like either been like a one and done or just a 2-album band. But they're back. Hopefully they keep doing stuff. But yeah, just the energy of this band. You got the parental advisory explicit content label on here, because some of the subject matter on here is pretty crazy. And actually there's a few songs that were cut, at least off of this American release. A song called Becky, which is about like a high school girl and her best friend, and ends up killing the girl. They all get together and kill the best friend. Crazy. Also a song called Black Hole, which had some sort of explicit content in it. That was a bit too much. That was taken off. But yeah, I had this. This is a fantastic record. If you tied me to a chair and threatened me with violence, and said, "What's your favorite punk album of all time?" I would probably say, "Be Your Own Pet, Get Awkward." It's just that impactful. I just dig it. So there you go. Those are my 20 favorite punk albums. Again, if you didn't hear your favorite album, don't worry about it. That's okay. That's cool. We all hear things differently. Our ears are pinned to our heads in different ways. They pick up different frequencies. If you're a fan of any of these albums, you're a punk. I hope you enjoyed this. That's it for this week. Until we meet again, this is Brett Strong saying good journey.